great pleasure to join everybody here today as we discuss a very important topic that can be easily overlooked as we look at normal quantitative data in terms of cost-benefit analysis. But let me pause right here and let's let my lovely wife, Dr. Utpola, introduce herself.
Hello, namaskar. I'm Utpola Borah, and my husband, Hans Utter. So we will be talking about cost-benefit in social cost-benefit in arts in community. So I would like...
The primary thing to be aware of is when we look at cost-benefit analysis, right? Often the larger ecology, okay, ecology, in the way I'm using the term, encompasses both material resources, community resources, as well as a longer-term unfolding number of years. You know, we're looking at with the project costs benefit. So let's just start, before we go into the analytical aspects, because I'm sure all of you guys have your spreadsheets up. You know, I even did my number crunching, global cost-benefit analysis from art spending. Okay. Hire someone, I'll do it. But let's start out with, what do arts mean to a community? So let's first of all look at our first term of definition. So as soon as we say arts, we have a kind of a vague term, but also something kind of quite specific, right? We look at kala, we look at the Nata Shastra. We look at traditional art forms. For example, in Assam, with Hotira and things like that. These are arts. These are things that are not easy to learn. Okay, they take time. They take discipline. They take a transmission. They take somebody that knows how to even teach what this is. And then they take a community that values this. Okay? So when I say, what does arts funding mean to a community? First we have to define what we mean by arts or culture, right? So that's the first juncture we have to examine. And then we have to define what we mean by community. And the second point is that we're looking at costs, so we're actually looking at funding or supporting, right? We're looking at allocating resources, and these may be cash-based, liquidity, capital resources. These may be, resources of media or broadcasting. These may be resources of technology, or resources of even engaging communities. So there's a lot that's involved with how we define these. But so the first thing is like looking at how spending is allocated before we can really look at the cost and the benefit of arts initiatives.
Hi. So I will like to give some examples. And here, as an artist, I'm an artist. Also, I am an educator and promoter, and also I run my music business. That's where I'm kind of CEO of my company. So I will talk from some of these angles. So as an artist, here I'm talking in terms in Ohio as an artist here. We get invitation from different arts community, arts council for performances in different events, and they are like I'll give example, like Asian Festival, which is one of the biggest Asian festival in North America, and where some millions of people every year, and that's held during Memorial Day weekend. That's like end of May. So that's where that's what one of the I would like to give the example about Asian Festival, because for here in America we get to see very it's kind of very, comparatively very less amount of Asian or Indian community events. So Asian Festival basically what they do, they it's like a whole, I'm talking from the first, I'll talk from the cost process there, because they get funded by major organizations like Ohio Arts Councils, Greater Columbus Arts Council. Then also there are a lot of corporate who also funds, like Honda and AEP and stuff like that. And so where it's held in one of the biggest event place, that is called Franklin Park Conservatory. Beautiful place. And so they have about 5 different stages where you have music, dance, martial art, you have drama, you have different kind of plays, and much more than that, and also arts and of different places from Asia. They're mainly from Asia, and so these are done in 3 days. And so what they basically do, they invite artists, and they invite in the sense they also screen, because they put their application, and which is there in the website. So, and it's sometime in February, and then you fill up and you send it to them, and with whatever the informations, and they will invite the audience, the artists accordingly. So this is a process they do, but they also have artists which they are being invited from different abroad, like they invite some of the very prominent artists, dance groups or theater groups from China or Cambodia or India, like so and so forth. So these artists were, so all of we get invitation too, and so they're in 3 they are 2 days, these are like cultural programs, and the 3rd day they have some outdoor events. So what they do so that's during the time, so these artists are given not more than say 15-20 minutes like each act, and it can be 2 times, like a morning and an evening. And the same act can be in the morning and the evening in different stages. So that because it's a huge place and people just move around and going in different stages, event stage to see the events. So what happens? This is very interesting because. For me as an Indian, and I've been here for some time in US, but I know kind of about Asia, but of course it's very difficult to know all the cultures. But I go as an artist, okay, I perform, people come to see me. It's that's my experience with the audience. But when I go as to watch others' performance, so then I become the audience. So what I gain is that I get to learn about the new culture, new dance or music of that particular community, say, and which is not always possible to see, because most of the time they have to pay, and this is, by the way, totally free. So it's a free and entry free, so you can watch some of the finest performances, you know, in that. So so that way, that community, as a community person, I am benefiting to get to see those act, you know, so that's where I feel that, like, I get sometime also after I perform, people come and say, oh, it was very nice, what was form and what kind of things you did, and do you do this, or do you teach, or do you take classes, and so on and so forth. So that way, as a artist, that's kind of my benefit, kind of, you know, because I am getting some new contact. Or also sometimes they also invite, take my contact, and they say, okay, we're going to invite you in so-and-so performance, we have, so would you like to come? So, you know, that's kind of a, you know, kind of a give and take basis, I can say. I'm both way, I'm getting that, you know, connections. So that's what I'm talking about, the Asian festival, that that we benefit both, you know, as an artist and as a community person. And another one of the other events I would like to talk about, our own event, that my company's name is Sacred Music LLC. It's been about 6-7 years now. What we do a lot of events around the year, because we have students that we teach, and then we'll make them perform, and then these students are also invited in several community, especially Indian temples or Indian programs for different community. We have different communities, as you know, like Tamilians or the North Indians, or the Marathi. Maharashtrian. They all have different community events. So that's where our students also they're invited to perform. Sometimes we do, but often also the students. So that way, what happens? This as a community, the people they arrange this program, and when they invite those students, like my students, like they start from 3 years onward, they're like, you know, little students, they sing, and that inspires in the community the little children, or the younger generation, the new, you can say the second generation, which are here, they are born here, Indians. I'm talking again from the Indian perspective, Indian, as well as we also have some Bhutanese, Nepalese, Bangladeshis, and Pakistanis too. So we share same, like the Hindustani music is very much, as you know, it's like kind of in greater India, which is like goes all the way from India, Afghanistan, all the way. So Nepal, we all have this Hindustani music is like across the border. So so that way, like, you know, parents or the children, they get to listen to those children, and then they get it's kind of inspiration for the parents, that not like they are in US, speak, because they often at home they speak English, and most of their time Indian parents, they have this because they want their children to learn Indian languages, Indian culture, but you know, it's very difficult to keep everything together, or teach your children, I mean, because it's a very fast life here. So but to this music or the culture, the parents can, those children get attracted, because they learn about the song, or about the you know, the stories behind the song. So that is a kind of another way community is benefiting from the artist. And so again, some other than so that those are the small things my students or we do, but we do a very big event called Raktal, which is like a community event we do, and it's a workshop and concert, which is funded by the Arts Council. We have been getting fund for a couple of years now. It is because of our goodwill and the work we have been doing it and producing. So so we get that workshop. So we put up a workshop where we get people, artists from other place. We fly them, depending if we have the artists here, it's fine, but often we don't have it, like especially tabla, or sometimes we do some special artists for dance, like Odissi, or some of the very, we do, it's for Indian classical music and dance, so we only concentrate on classical music, because that's where we are, we're kind of expert in those fields, and we want to promote that, because there are a lot of people, the organization who are doing Bollywood. I'm not saying they're bad, but you know, there are a lot of organizations who are doing, but very few organizations who are actually promoting Indian classical music and dance. So we are doing that. So we only find some of the finest artists in America, or sometimes if somebody from India who are traveling, we invite them too. So that way we have to, as a organizer myself, I have to invest a lot of my time, of course money, which is really important, because you know, there's big money. I mean, everybody, we have to fly them, we have to keep them, give accommodation, then on to, we also have to pay fee. I mean, of course, that their time, their everything matters a lot. And also for most of the artists, the bread and butter. I mean, you cannot just get them for free. So what we do, that we invite people, and this program, we put it in one of the finest hall in Columbus, and where we have the cost of the hall, then we have the sound system, then we have, you know, all the arrangement for the event, from the advertisement, making the flyer, putting the flyer in different places, then the social media, email, and in all those things that associated with that, these are all a part of the cost, you know. And and then, you know, till you, from the beginning to end, I mean, start and you know, till you pay everything, and like, you know, you're wrapping up, and you know, and also here that it's very important, you have to sign an kind of insurance, because they give you the hall, and then they'll say, okay, these are the rules, you have to, you know, got the whole hall, you have to keep it this way, anything goes wrong, you have to pay for it. So, you know, this also comes within the cost, so you're kind of responsible for everything. So those are the two examples that I wanted to give, I was giving you, and the benefit from that my event to the community, I feel it's really immense, because we are seeing that over the year we are getting good amount of audience. Like last year we did it, and the hall was like 200-seater hall. We had around 180 people, and it was a big, for us it was like a big achievement, because it's very hard to get people, and we are not only looking for Indian people, we want anyone to come. So we don't just go only for the Indian people. We say it's open, of course, it's in America, you just don't target only Indian people, but you want to bring it to the audience, which is like, you know, newer audience too. And especially we look forward for children and younger generations, you know, young adult and college or university students, because they are our future generation, and we want them to benefit from this, and from these events. And fortunately we are being very fortunate to get them, and in fact they are also participating in they also participate in our program. as an artist, they like last year we had about 20 to I think 25 students who did dances, like Kathak, one of the classical North Indian classical dance. They were in group, they did in solo, and there was another group, Odissi. They also had children who are like from school level to college level. They also did a beautiful performance. Then my students, our students, like as young as 5 years old, and then up to I think they were 10 or 12. So they were around 10 of them. They all performed together. They kind of inaugurated the program. So that way, and all the children are also, they all are part of the event, and so once they finish the program, they also go in the audience. So they are watching, and so it's very like things that after the events I get to, so people come up to us and they really look forward for this program. So that is why I think we have been very successful for over now 7 years that we are continuing this event, so that's the benefit for the audience, for the community. So that's, I'm sure they are benefiting. That is why they want it, and that is why we get kind of what do you call it? We get the grant, because to get the grant you need to have this community approval. So I feel this is the benefit of arts in the community.
So let's look at some various parameters, various ways that arts funding is allocated to communities, or even the valuation, right, of art and culture as an important factor. So we have major projects, right? We have large-scale funding, public works initiative. We have airport art, right? I should learn how to become a sculptor, right? To do something at the airport. No, I mean, I love to do that, of course. But so we have major projects, we have quote-unquote public works projects, and then we have local initiatives, which are things aimed at preserving or promoting local cultural spaces. And this local could be regional, it could be even a particular village, it could be a tribe, it could be whatever, right? So we can draw the definitions of local relatively broadly. And then the next question we have to ask is, how are benefits defined? So how do we define our benefits? And as I'm going to show shortly, there are a lot of benefits that come just in the sheer bottom line, in terms of revenue, in terms of reduced crime, in terms of increased support for local business infrastructure. So there's a lot of benefits, but that's the first topic. The second one is, how do we define costs, right? So we have the monetary allocation, but the one thing about arts related funding or spending is that it doesn't it doesn't impact to that much of an extent the like local resources or spaces, living spaces, or land allocation, etc. Right? So these are issues that can be considered along the rubric of cost. So how do we ascertain a rubric? How do we ascertain our definitional system, right? So we just go through a straight cost-benefit analysis, which of course is an incredibly valuable tool for any kind of business decision, even governmental-wide policy definitions. You need to have a defined rubric. By which I mean you need to have a definitional frame. You need to know what means there and who it means what to who. And just come up with a empirical as much as possible, right? Empirical meaning there's transparent standards of observation. Like how do we know this means this? Okay. So it's very important, right, to define the rubric. Again, this is our model of examining. And these models can be very different. Okay, I'm not saying there's a single particular model. You're not going to apply the same model to infrastructure development project as you're going to apply to giving money to a local arts group or initiative or educational funding, etc. So I'll give an example. This is cost-benefit analysis of arts education for at-risk youth. So we look at some of the indicators, right? The developmental indicators. Let's read off some of these. Better discipline, better self-esteem, reduced truancy, better relationship with adults, more hope for future, increased motivation, increased math ability, increased reading comprehension, increased language skills, increased interest in social studies, higher school graduation rates. So, we look at some of these studies, we find a really significant amount of reduction of many of these factors. Okay, so we find that we have reduced juvenile crime, and even increased earning potential for individuals, etc. So that's one example of a cost-benefit analysis where, for example, a particular population that's at risk or is exhibiting, factors of, increased crime rates, etc. These arts programs can actually significantly change the next generation, and in fact create a factor known as placemaking, right? Where you live becomes a place, becomes something of interest and value, and this gives the youth as well as people of all different age groups a greater share in this community, a greater share in their own agency, their own ability or potential as actors in their own lives. So this is very important. And especially when we look at senior citizens, there's a huge amount of data that supports the fact that memory, the increase of memory, the decrease of things like depression, even the decrease of actual disease factors can be reduced by funding and inculcating arts-based initiatives. So there's just a huge array of benefits that come from arts funding, and I'd be more than happy to supply any listeners, anybody watching this with a variety of studies. Now these studies are based for the most part in North America, continental United States, but there's a tremendous amount of benefits that are served by this, and in fact the cost in terms of long-term benefits, and even in terms of economic factors, kind of baseline economic factors, we do see that arts, funding arts education, funding performance spaces, and funding or allowing support for purveyors of traditional arts and crafts, and actually allowing people to connect, to give us space to connect, to give us space for creativity. So that to me is the fundamental benefit of the arts. And in conclusion, of course, any power can be used the other way. We can distort and manipulate culture, history. We can make cultures disappear through strategic funding of, we call, ephemeral, qualitative, non-quantitative factors such as arts and culture. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and I really want to thank Professor Ajanta Borah for giving this opportunity to speak about arts benefit. And so here my husband, Hans, if you want to say something.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate doing this, and as I said, it's a very important topic that ties to the core of micro, macro, and meta-economic systems. And in fact, a lot can be gained just by being aware of these factors. So thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.